All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of TBI Tuesdays. I'm Jamal from RVA, and this guy is
I'm Justin from Richmond.
Justin from Richmond doing his thing. There
See,
it
there it
is.
goes.
There it is. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different for you today. We're going to talk about some things that we personally find quite triggering. Maybe you'll learn something from this. Find out some things that trigger me, find out some things that trigger him. But hopefully, you'll get a kick out of this more inside look into who we are and how we think with our independent mindsets. So I'll start off by saying, well, let me ask you this, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my pet peeve out there. People who don't take accountability for the things they say and the things they do. How do you feel about that one?
Well, I mean, accountability is a big thing, but I mean, like accountability is often seen as a leadership principle, but really is an everybody principle. And
Leadership, really?
I found that I really have a very hard time with people who can't be accountable. But I'd say that's more like in my romantic life than day to day because I just kind of expect that out of people in general. But once I let you into my circle, I do have certain expectations of you as a person, which is why my circle's so small. But thankfully so, because that keeps me out of a lot of other folks' drama.
Yeah, yeah. So a leadership principle, I didn't expect that, but I'll expound on like why it's a thing for me. But why do you say it's a leadership thing, or it's been looked
Well,
at as a leadership thing?
Well, I know. At least when I was in the army, it was looked at as a leadership principle. But I think that leadership is also done by example. I mean, there of course there are myriad leadership styles. That there's not going to be one size fit all. You can't stick a Jocko Willis as the head of Microsoft. That's probably not going to work out exactly the way you want it to. And you wouldn't want to put Bill Gates in charge of, maybe you would want to do that. Never mind, we'll skip the Bill Gates one. But but like I said, but there's various leadership styles, and I believe in leading by example. But there's a phrase in the intelligence community: true power never reveals itself.
Mhm.
So I mean, there's more than one way to run a show.
Yeah, I believe in standing on business. And if you say something, or you say you're going to do something, or you didn't do something, just say that you didn't do it or say that you did it. I I don't like people who just will not take accountability for the things they say and do. Really just irritates me in a place that's hard to describe. I feel like it's kind of like in my lower chest, maybe right above my diaphragm. Get this little feeling, and I start getting irritated, and then I start getting triggered after that. The longer the lack of accountability goes on, the worse it is. Because to me, it's kind of like people who lie unnecessarily. Does that make sense? Like it's just
Yeah.
like, why are we lying? Just say you didn't do it. If you didn't do it, just say you didn't do it. I would respect you more if you just said you didn't do it. You know, like I could understand that. But then it's like you make all these excuses and you say all this other stuff and saying that you did it, or I clicked send but it never went through, so on and so forth. I just my levels of irritation rise quickly based on a lack of accountability.
And also, it also matters, like, just to kind of, I guess, round it out. If you're someone who is like, especially a hands-on kind of manager or supervisor, if they lacked accountability, how long do you believe you'd be working at that company?
You shouldn't be working there anymore. As soon as you demonstrate that level of incompetence, nobody wants to follow anybody like that or do
And
what they
that's why it's
say.
a leadership principle.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. I agree with that. But it's just that I don't know. Maybe I look at it as a self leadership principle because, like, I stand on business. Like, if I didn't do it, I just didn't do it. Jamal, why didn't you do it? I didn't do it because of why ever I didn't do it. I forgot, didn't feel like it, whatever it is. I mean, it might not be what you want to hear, but I'll at least tell you I didn't do it. And I'm not going to BS you about it. That's my bad. That's on me. I was supposed to do it. That's really all I need. I asked for so little. Anyways, it's to you. What gets underneath your skin?
Well, hold on, I was just gonna say it's a very liberating feeling to say tell somebody you didn't do something simply because you didn't want to, though. Like, and like not doing it to be a dick, but like saying it like just being like, I just didn't want to. It's
I
just like, it's
say
very
it.
liberating. I've only said it like that like a few times, but because I know how hard that can hit. But like, yeah, it's like, yeah,
It
I didn't want to go out of my way and do that shit.
it might make somebody uncomfortable, but would you like if you were on the receiving end? Would you rather hear somebody say that or make up a bunch of stuff about why they didn't do it and know
Oh,
that they're lying
of
to
course, I wanted to just get right out to it because I mean, the ADHD is bad enough. It's really going to kick in when you start BSing.
you? Yeah.
um, but okay, I tend to take a pretty progressive bend on a lot of the issues on the show, especially earlier on before when it was just strictly like a podcast.
Mhm.
And one of those things that I really and one of those progressive ideals that I really enjoy and believe should be enshrined is the right to health care. It is absolutely, in my opinion, proper health care is a right. If in any society that we want to see reach the heights that we imagine and then we put in our movies and write in books to reach that sort of society, it has to be one where everybody is lifted up by the same rising tide. However, I need some caveats. Okay. I need some caveats. It's just like that song, Richmond, North of Richmond. Are you familiar with that one, Jamal?
My brother actually knows the guy. Used to work with him.
Okay.
Yeah, but
All right. I'm
I've
not
heard
surprised.
snippets
Yeah.
of it, but I haven't listened to it.
Yeah. Like he was talking about people on assistance programs saying if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, why am I paying for your fudge rounds? So it's like ring a ding ding. um, and it's just like. How we sometimes talk about people will vote against their interests and that's why it's so important to have an independent mindset because if you get into identity politics it you tend to just kind of follow the group think removing your critical thought from the entire process and it's something I was thinking about. Maybe we can touch on this in a future episode, but like how science kind of became the new religion or has become the new religion in many ways. The scientism is the word for that when science is treated like a religion.
Mhm,
But I couldn't find the word for when politics is treated like a religion. And I find it concerning the celebrity status that candidates for the presidency are starting to reach, where it's like rock star events and things like that. It's adding too much celebrity to what's supposed to be an office of service, and so back to what I really wanted to get at. Another way of voting is voting with one's dollar, and when you put those dollars into junk food, into heavily processed foods, um, into what's convenient, then you are doing yourself a disservice. It's kind of like voting along party lines simply because that's the party line, because it's easy. That's
mhm,
what it's for. You affiliate with the group and you do it. That's why the lawsuit to sue the Democratic National Committee over the whole Bernie Sanders thing,
mhm,
when he said he was snubbed, well, the judge ruled that the Republican and Democratic parties are clubs. So they're social clubs. So they don't have to be fair. They can just do what they want,
mhm,
and that's kind and so that's where it in some ways, especially at some of these rallies with like the level of intensity that some of the onlookers are bringing, it has some cult like energy, and that's not something I'm for.
mhm.
But while we're voting with those dollars and those fudge rounds and all that stuff, me as a farmer, that is how I make my living. I gotta talk to my people real quick. That is people of color,
Y'all are
particularly black people, especially Southern black people. Because I was having a conversation with a family member earlier today, and and they were talking about, why don't you advertise in this space or that space? And I said, oh, I did. I have been for 3 years, and I get virtually no traffic there. But if I put a catfish plate on there, it might sell. And my people want to wonder why we got so much heart disease and diabetes and stuff. It's because of the crap we eat that we call soul food or comfort food. That's no, soul food is what's supposed to nourish the soul. Soul food is healthy, nutritious food that is living. That is soul food, because the soul is attached to that little vessel you're walking around in, and how we treat it is that are you why are you going to put your most precious possession in mud? I'm trying to get better, and I'm trying to get and I'm yeah, and I'm bringing that conviction in. I'm just saying, like, folk gotta do better, man. It is all out of my entire demographic, the hardest one for me to sell to are my own people. The excuses I get from like even after I explain, like, oh well, that's different, or oh, I'm not used to that, like, and some of these people are old enough that they probably had to get up off their seat if somebody of a certain ethnicity walked on the bus. Well, you were doing that too, but you're happy to change that because guess what? It was better. So change
Yeah,
your fucking diet, please.
yeah.
Okay, please.
And y'all listen to him on this because um, I, I think some of the things that you've been able to overcome based on, and you doing exactly what you're talking about, have been fairly remarkable. Um, so I think he's
Oh
not
yeah,
he's
the diabetes thing, diabetes.
yeah,
Yeah.
no small task at all um, to overcome something like that. So I think you're speaking from a place of truth backed up by your personal experience and doing what you're talking about. So he's standing on business for sure. Accountable.
I mean, hey. I mean, I was just about to say, man, I love pizza. You're
Oh
like,
yeah.
Justin, hey, Justin, we about to hit that 699 carry out. You good on something?
You,
Like, hold up, let me tell you exactly what I want.
you know I I think what it is this move towards um fast food, and even when you cook at home, you want it to be fast. And fast
Yeah.
is always or almost always fried. You drop whatever it is in some hot grease, and 60 seconds later, boy, you're eating. And it's just not, it's not, it's not good for you. I mean, it's not doing anything for you. And so even me myself, I was okay. Well, we got to take some time, um, make sure that we're bringing in fruits and vegetables, and just eating cleaner. Like even the meats that we eat, you know, being more selective and conscious of our choices there to try to make sure that myself and the family are healthy. So I spend a lot more time in the kitchen than I did before, and I enjoy it. You kind of there's a pride that you can take in preparing your own meals and meals for the family, and people enjoy it, and it's good and it's healthy. I mean, it's a win-win.
It is. And you know what? Speaking of convenience and because it's easy, what else is easy? More raw foods. It's easy when it's raw. Ooh, baby, I like it raw.
Eat it right off the vine. You're talking about eating it right off the vine. Talking about eating it right off the vine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I.
Blackberries are in season still, y'all. Well, actually, no, I think we're past blackberries now. And they burnt, a lot of them burned out early in my area. I think some kind of blight came through, whatever. Anyways.
Well, I enjoy some of my favorite things to eat are grapes and strawberries. I mean, just pluck them, rinse them, eat them. Done.
Yep.
You can't go wrong with that.
That's
I
why
would.
that's why I like my smoothie. I like for my smoothie game to be popping. That's
Yeah,
all my
I, yeah, I
guiding the
agree.
support. Yeah, that's because that was me. I was like, part of the reason why I'm eating more of XYZ is because it's fast and easy.
Hmm.
So like, what's easier than that? I'll just like get my pitcher, make a bunch of smoothies, and I can stick it in the fridge. And whenever especially if I want something sweet, then that's a good way to get some quick fiber, get some good sugars in you, and kind of help curb the appetite too. So
Oh, I know what I was gonna
because
say.
I love crushing my carbs.
I love a smoothie personally. Soul food though. Um, I think more Black people are becoming aware of the fact that what we call soul food is really stemmed from how we were able to eat
Yeah, it was really slave
in the
food.
South. It's slave food, exactly. So I think about oxtails, which I like. I'm just
I
gonna be
mean, they're
honest with you.
tasty.
I like them. Um, we really the things that we traditionally called soul food are leftover byproducts from choice parts of plants and animals that we didn't have access to. So you butcher a cow, you know they get the choice cuts, you get the tail, you get the ears, you get the organs. That's why Black people are chicken gizzards and all this different type of stuff. Pig's feet, chicken feet. What? Come on, hit. What's the one I'm definitely going to say here? Starts with a C.
Don't I don't even want to utter the word.
Starts with
I
a
don't want to
chitter,
utter the word.
which
Oh, the
is
smell is flooding my memory. Oh, it's in my nose. Oh, it's in my nose. God bless it.
yeah. Get you some lemon juice, man. Yeah.
Woo.
Uh, yeah.
One of my favorite
When
things
you
to
think
sip
about
on
it,
is spiced vinegar, but now when I'm gonna go and have my little sip of spiced vinegar later on, I'm gonna be thinking of freaking chitlins, man. Nah.
it's gonna have a little. Sorry about that. Um, but yeah, it's you know we've come a long way. We've come a long way. We've got access to information. We don't have to eat like that. I don't think organs are good for to be consumed anyway. Um, and even too much
It's hot.
meat can be bad for you. So I encourage everyone out there to think a little bit about what you're doing and look into preparing your own foods. Popeyes, McDonald's, all these different places, they can be good in a pinch. If you got to get something quick, but really it doesn't take long to fix your own food. It
And
really
learn
doesn't.
sprouting.
And I
Learn
think
sprouting.
what you got to learn is stop turning the stove up to maximum to cook something. Think it's gonna cook faster. It's not. You're just gonna burn it. So just gonna burn it.
And potentially destroy some of the nutrients, destroy even more nutrients that can't handle the higher heats too.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, being triggered. Yeah, I got. We kind of touched on one of yours there. Chitterlings, triggered. Um, who knew? Um,
You know what, Jamal? I got one that will get you every time, but I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna
well, you
save
gonna
it. I'm gonna
save
let
it?
you have
You
this
gonna
one.
save it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, let me think about something here. Oh, people who are constantly negative, or I don't think any. Well, no, I take that back. There are some people definitely constantly negative, but a disproportionate amount of negativity drives me absolutely insane. Like I'm just like, is there, is there any light at the end of your tunnel? Is there a silver lining on the cloud? Is there anything that we can hold up as being good and worthwhile? I just,
They have
you
to
know,
be shown. Because I mean, I've been there. I'm sure you've noticed it at some point
well,
that I have those streaks.
well, the,
You have to you have to be shown that somehow, some way
well, I think
that there is something.
what I'm getting at is more people who are just that way all the time, right? So, I think everybody has a moment. I think everybody has a series of moments. But I think if you're going to descend into the depths of the darkest parts of your mind, you got to hold on to a lifeline so you can get back up out of there. You know what I mean? You
But
say to
if
yourself,
somebody is, it's like Bane talking to Batman. He's like, "You embrace the darkness. I was born into it. If you've never seen the light, then you don't know what's dark."
that's true. That's very true. I, and I like that quote. You know, I was talking to a family member some months ago, and they were concerned that, and maybe this is something you can speak over. We can get into this a little bit. They were concerned that they were having a lot of negative and or rather dark thoughts. And I've always said to myself, I have dark thoughts. Like I have some seriously dark things that I've thought about. And I will kind of go off on that tangent for a little bit. and then I'll just cut it off and I'll come back. But I think that people shun what they call the dark parts of themselves, and they don't want to experience it or let their mind consider it or to kind of be in that space. But I think in order to be a complete person psychologically, I think you have to let your mind go there, right? And say, you know what? I would absolutely um, like to, smack the socks off this guy or that guy or whatever, whatever. I mean, you just kind of got to think about that and be like, man, that'd be so great if I could just, man, if I could just, man, that person that cut me off, I just, you know. But obviously, you don't act on those things. But I think you have to consider them, and even darker things than those, to acknowledge the totality of your humanity, right? And then once you've understood yourself or experienced yourself, then you can decide, I'm going to go closer to the light. But to your point, you can't because you don't know where it is. You've never seen it.
I will say for situational awareness, it doesn't hurt to allow the dark thoughts to go, and I mean that in a way as to say, like you mentioned, like the cutting thing off, road rage sort of thing. So whatever you think about doing to that person, just consider that somebody's already considered and done worse.
Hmm.
So consider that before you take that action. And this is coming from somebody who loves flipping the bird at people and
Yeah.
honking the horn when they like cut you off or do whatever and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I just think that people are scared of it. I think they're scared of themselves. And I think there was a quote that I read recently by Jordan Peterson, and he says that it's not virtuous uh, to, let me see how you put it. It's not virtuous to just say, hey, look, I'm not violent, right? It's what's virtuous is to be capable of great violence and then to restrain yourself. Like that's virtue. Because I think every man, I'm going to say every man. I'm not saying that this is not for women, but I'm saying that as a man because I am a man and I can speak to at least the kind of the male experience. I think that every man has a monster inside of him, and I think that the Bible speaks to this when it says, "When I would do good, evil is there, right there with me." And I think you have to acknowledge the truth of that because that's where the you have to win that fight first before you can win it in the in the real world, on the outside world, if that makes any kind of sense. So when I'm going and coming, here and there, could I do some terrible things? Yeah, yeah, I really could. I could do some horrible things. Um, but knowing that about myself and being able to keep that in check, allows me to live what I believe is a more realistic life. Because if I'm capable of great violence, let's just say, and someone tries to visit violence on me, I need to be capable of great violence in that moment. And then when it's over, I need to be able to put that away. I need to put the dog back on the leash, as they say, right? Um, because there's a time and a place for everything, right? There's a time and place for everything. Um, and I think people just need to acknowledge that. I think people spend too much time trying to, oh no, we, I don't want to do that. I don't think that that's good. I don't want to be thinking about it, right? I think you should think about it. That's just my 2 cents. I'm feeling preachy, and so I'm just gonna leave right there. But I think that the darker parts of ourselves need to be acknowledged, right? Because if they're not, I think they kind of emerge when we least want them to.
No, I think I remember reading a couple of interesting quotes on the subject. I don't remember what the quotes actually are anymore, but I mean, I don't disagree, and after you explained it a little bit more, it made it a bit more sensible. Um, I guess it's just because I guess because I just don't want to really face that particular part of myself anymore.
Mm.
Uh, but I mean, that's still true. I mean, I I still keep the blammy, but that's out of necessity. I mean, I don't care if I'm just going to the corner store.
Right. Yeah.
you know, I, you got to bring the FO with you to find
Yeah.
out.
That's right. That's exactly right. That is exactly what I mean. There has to be a find out component. Otherwise, it's just there's just the FA part, and we just can't have that running around unchecked, right? Um, I think there's a saying in martial. Well, there's kind of like I don't know what if you call it a mantra, but there's a kind of a thought process or zeitgeist in martial arts, which is you're going to learn how to inflict violence on people to defend yourself, right? And you're going to learn how to do some terrible things to people, right? Um, but being a steward of that knowledge requires the mindset of restraint, right? Because only people who have experienced it or have the education and knowledge really understand truly how dangerous it is, unless that person's been on the receiving end of it as well. Um, and so, kind of when you have that understanding, it requires a greater level of restraint, right? That's the find out part, right? Um, and I believe in finding out, right? I believe in it. I keep it with me at all times, in one form or another. Yeah.
Which is another reason why I'm trying to improve upon my physical fitness as well, just overall. Because yeah, because
Say
I mean,
that.
I'm not trying to go that route first if I can help it, but I'm also not trying to be like 15 seconds in. That's not a good look. That's not gonna work.
I think
So I want yeah, like my dad would say, like, because he told me that because he's a black belt in jujitsu, and he just got like a year. He's been training for a long freaking time. Uh, and he was talking about how he trains a lot of the local cops,
mhm,
and he's like, a lot of black men are like, why would you do that? And he said, well, he feels like they're much more likely to go to lethal force if they have less confidence and less lethal force.
right.
And I found that when he said that, I was like, crap, he's right. Because of course I have a background between military police and corrections, where it's very much the same thing. If the safest option to me, if what I'm most confident in is lethal force, I'm going to be much more likely to want to be inclined to use it because that's what's comfortable, and that kind of goes back to what we were talking to in the last episode with comfort and habit, and that's just how people operate. So if
Right,
you're
right,
more
right.
confident that you can control a situation hand to hand because you've been rolling around with a black belt and you can handle them, so you should be able to handle Joe Smo on the street
Hmm.
usually. You're gonna be a lot more confident in using those means. I'm like, you know what? I like where your head's at. I'm not even gonna say anything because
Yeah.
because I was still because like when you told me this, I was still in my FTP phase. So like I mean I'm back out of it now. Now I'm back to get off my lawn, slow down. So
That's the old man in you coming
I'm
out.
back, guys. Sorry, yeah, old man Upshaw's here now. Sorry.
Get off my grass. Um, that's, that's funny. I think about Dennis the Menace and that sort of whole situation with Mr. Wilson. Yeah, that's funny. Um, well, let's do one. Let's do one more. Let me see.
Are you sure you have time?
Yeah, yeah. I got one more.
Okay, all right. I want to see a RIP Jamal on Facebook later.
No, 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 no. You're not gonna say it. I'm trying to think of someone. So we talked about accountability for me, which is huge. Unnecessary lying, and then cruelty in most of its forms. especially to children and people who are not able to defend themselves. So any type of cruelty that is a violation of my humanity to even witness something like that. And I'm not sure that at this current place that I'm in, this current stage of my life, that I could even stand to witness it and to not intervene at any cost. It kind of hits that hard. So that's my third trigger right there. I don't know if you wanted to add a trigger for yourself, but I saw how you segued into your black people rant, which is needed. It was needed, and the physical fitness ties into that. You know,
Yeah,
health and wellness.
yeah, just and it's also been really helpful for mental health too, especially like if you're somebody who wakes up with like anxiety and stuff like that, your chest's kind of tight or whatever, you'd be amazed if you just get up, slip on some shoes, and just go take a walk around the block. What it will do for you, just getting outside for just a moment to kind of break it up, before, especially if you're about to go right back into the concrete jungle and go sit in a cubicle or something like that. Really important to get yourself a little bit of fresh air, hear a little bird song, a little breeze, and it'll really help out. Otherwise, some yoga or even some mindfulness thingies. Like I have that on my watch here. Every now and then, it's like, hey, take a minute to breathe or reflect on something. It'll give you like a different little meditation, and it's just a minute long, but it's a really nice reset. And I found that to be really helpful. So um, rather than be triggered, learn to deal with the triggers. So
Triggers alert.
that's what I'm trying to do. It's been great. I've been smiling and been upbeat and even nice to people sometimes. And when I see something stupid on Facebook, I don't immediately start sharpening my axe, and I don't get nearly as angry, man. This whole mindset thing is kind of working out. Oh yeah, also everybody. Never hurts to have a little daily affirmation podcast slide your way in the mornings, and there's some good motivational. I know there's this one podcast, I think it's just called the Motivational Podcast. That they it's usually like 7 or 8 minutes, and it's a nice little hype you up speech, kind of get you going. So, it's really important to just be mindful of not only what we're putting in our bodies, but we're putting in our minds and spirits as well. So, um, it definitely does not hurt to talk well of yourself. You are listening to yourself, and you
Mhm.
are receiving that. So that goes back to Jamal being negative. If you're, it is a loop. It is a feedback loop. So if you're constantly speaking negatively, you're gonna keep internalizing that. So be positive, y'all, and eat some microgreens. Learn how to sprout, good stuff like that. So
I
buy
like
microgreens from me though, but do your own sprouting. And so,
it.
so,
I like the idea of a little meditation, a little daily meditation. I'm going to try that because mindset is so important. Justin from Richmond, why don't you bring us home, man?
all right, y'all. Well, you can check us on the socials. I don't know, Jamal's doing a whole lot of the social thing, but you can find me around Justin from Richmond. Also, the TBI podcast. You can find us on. Well, we're supposed to be on Rumble, but I dropped the ball on that. See, accountability. But you can find us on the talk, and also YouTube as well. I don't know if we're gonna bother messing with Facebook. I guess we could like maybe do a page for shorts at some point. I don't know, just for kicks and gigs. And we do have an Instagram which we don't use too. So we need to get better. See, we need to get better, Jamal. We're not doing our
Accountability.
thing.
Accountability. Yeah, but if you have any topics you'd like for us to talk about,
Oh yeah,
definitely
that's it.
reach out to us at 2blackpod@gmail.com.
That's
You
the
can
number
find us
two,
on there
y'all.
and Spotify. Have a wonderful
Peace.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. TBI Podcast. Peace.